Previously on ITT News.
The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, in a 2-to-1 decision, found for the defendants based on lack of ripeness.
Strength through attrition.
The Nick is dead. The Nick is dead. Ding dong, the Nick is dead.
Theuerian, pronounced like sewer, only with a lisp.
Known as the Cactus 18, were taken hostage by USAPA over 2 years ago.
The regime remains an angry, castrated old street dog.
It's not just a slam dunk. It's a supreme slam dunk.
Under pain of an unquestionably ripe DFR suit, once a contract is ratified.
Was claiming victory premature?
Indeed.
We're watching what you say, Mr. Cleary, and rest assured, we're watching what you are whispering.
The following takes place on day 1000 of the USAPA regime.
Good evening. I'm Captain Tony Anger, reporting to you once again from the occupied city of Phoenix, here on planet USAPA. Since our last broadcast, the Theuerian Guard, that's still pronounced like sewer, only with a lisp, has intensified its effort to censor our broadcast. More drones and censorship patrols are canvassing the planet. Despite the risk of being taken hostage, ITT News correspondent Marc Peeper joins us from the outskirts of the capital city of Myopia, where we hope to discuss the corporation's recent request for a declaratory judgment. Mark?
Do as we say, not as we do. Do as we say, not as we do. Do as we say, not as we do.
Good evening, Tony. Behind me you see the dying city of Myopia, the epicenter of where USAPA's legal firefight has grown more complicated ever since the corporation fired its own lawsuit at both USAPA and the West when it asked the court to issue a declaratory judgment.
The request seems to have blindsided the regime and pushed it into an even more defensive position.
Mark, behind you, what are those different colored fireballs?
Those are the exchanges of the offensive and defensive legal filings between USAPA, the West, and now the corporation. The West pilot's legal filings, as represented by Leonidas,
are red. USAPA's filings, true to its trademark, are a jaundiced yellow, and the corporation's are blue.
What a waste, sending so many legal filings flying back and forth, with the membership forced to pay the price. Seems Cleary has lost sight of his campaign promise to bring together the pilot groups, and will now stop at nothing to keep the pilot groups at war with each other.
Indeed, Tony. The regime thinks nothing of using the membership's blood to fertilize planet USAPA with its futile vision of date of hire. For the pilots, the wasteland behind me reflects the cost of what USAPA has squandered in missed opportunities, forfeited wage increases, and the millions of dollars of wasted union dues.
Until USAPA exists as a real union, nothing can ever grow in this atmosphere, not for the East, not for the West, not for the corporation.
Holy Leonidas! Did you see that?
I sure did. Let me check something. That was a filing that USAPA's real men of genius brought back down upon themselves.
The court deflected the regime's motion to dismiss and sent it back to explode in USAPA's bunker.
By returning the motion, Judge Silver effectively sent a stern warning to USAPA legal by saying, I return your motion because you initially agreed to submit a motion no more than 25 pages.
Yet you defied me by submitting a motion of 38 pages. You might be trying to renege on final and binding arbitration, but there's a new sheriff in town, and you will suffer the consequences when I hold you accountable for watching what you say and watching what you do.
What are the ramifications of this declaratory judgment, and how can it affect the legal battlefield?
Be a good union pilot. Be an angry union pilot. Be a good union pilot.
It means the court has been asked to clarify the corporation's risk of liability as it pertains to its use of the Nicolau Award versus date of hire.
Why would the corporation be concerned with the risks of using date of hire? After all, according to USAPA, isn't negotiating seniority just like negotiating crew meals?
Apparently not. The transition agreement of 2007, of which the corporation is a signatory, mapped the integration process. And per that agreement, you'll recall the corporation accepted the Nicolau list, and the respective East and West MECs each accepted from the corporation $300,000.
In other words, because the deal was effectively consummated, the corporation is concerned with its liability potential should it choose to deviate from the Nicolau list without the West pilot's consent.
So let me see if I understand you, because this really seems to be the heart of the matter. The corporation is aware of its agreement with two other parties, the MECs under ALPA, but nobody represents the West. The corporation is reluctant to modify the TA without declaration from the court. In addition, according to Judge Wake, the Leonidas hybrid DFR claim would become ripe for review the moment the corporation signs with USAPA any agreement that does not contain an intact Nicolau award. Is that correct?
Exactly. The corporation concedes that reneging on a contract or modifying the NIC award could have devastating consequences. Imagine that. Now, this is not to say that the corporation is fundamentally principled. Had the West not fought back the way it did, it is conceivable that the corporation might have accepted date of hire, but only to gain leverage at the negotiating table. However, now that USAPA has established that it will not budge from date of hire, the corporation sees DFR2 as inevitable and is concerned with future liability, hence the request for the declaratory judgment.
So, the corporation has finally come out of its self-imposed neutrality.
The corporation was never neutral. Disengaged, yes, but never neutral. It has always been in this battle, and asking for declaratory relief was proof enough.
Yet the regime claims the litigation was manufactured by the corporation to delay contract talks.
Another baseless claim. The corporation is on record as wanting to complete the seniority integration before proceeding with deeper contract talks. The corporation doesn't want to be sued by Leonidas or renegotiate a contract should it be determined later that it used the wrong seniority list.
Makes sense to me. Do you think this declaratory judgment has the potential to put an end to the overall conflict?
I'm not sure about ending the entire conflict, but this phase of litigation should put to rest the question of which list the corporation will use. And judging by USAPA's staunch opposition to proceed with the case, and I'm referring to the regime's motion to dismiss, I'd say it knows it would be hard-pressed to prevail.
Why then did the regime recently boast supreme confidence in its position that any impediment to impose data hire has been removed? You know, ding dong, the NIC is dead.
The supreme confidence of the regime's position is only for public consumption. Propaganda of the Theuerian Guard. Behind the scenes, President Cleary and his minions are scrambling to regain control and remain in power. They know that their only hope is to once again attempt to mislead the membership.
As Cleary and his minions have been known to do. Mark, excluding any appeal, how long will it take the court to render a judgment?
I'd say about 1 Earth year. Longer if USAPA keeps pulling everyone else into its destructive orbit.
What do you see going forward?
It's too soon to tell. We can make only 2 assumptions. 1, the corporation is looking for an answer through the court system. And 2, USAPA will do everything in its power to impede that process. I don't know, Tony. It might be 5 Earth years before every legal possibility is exhausted.
Why is USAPA so intent on seeing the case dismissed after saying for so long that it favored court resolution?
First of all, everyone knows what USAPA says and what USAPA actually does are 2 different things. If the lawsuit is dismissed or does not resolve the corporation's problem, Cleary will probably resume his boast of victory and try to negotiate favorable terms for himself. Otherwise, I'd say the regime is afraid the court could affirm the NIC, which would completely tie USAPA's hands. In that latter case, I'd say it's all over for USAPA, as the regime has been too arrogant to form a plan B.
Still no plan B? So what's Cleary's next move? Where is Cleary?
Protect the regime. Report bad pilots. Protect the regime. Report bad pilots.
I don't know, Tony. Cleary was last seen pouting and mumbling in the corner of his sandbox while sucking his thumb and blaming the courts.
The judge, the press, the jury, the arbitrator, ALPA, the corporation, the West, USAPA Watch, bad union pilots, everyone but El Nino because he's simply run out of options. One thing's for sure, by requesting declaratory action, the corporation shoved Cleary's thumb somewhere upward, which effectively silenced what was coming out of his you-know-what.
Mark, what is it?
Tony? Theuerian Guard. Censorship patrols, maybe. They're everywhere. I gotta get out of here, Tony.
Mark, we lost you. What's going on?